All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast, where we learn about leadership from the men who have served or are currently serving as worshipful master in a regular lodge of free and accepted Masons. I am Brother Matthew Wagstaff, a proud past master of Eureka Lodge number 36 out of Rochester, New York. We're currently serving as my worshipful master is Brother Jermaine Myers. And I'm with
I am Past Master Mark Alexander of Sons of Kings Lodge number 123 in Brooklyn, New York. Currently serving as Worship Master is Gerald Boyce II for about one more month, something like that.
Yeah, it's almost that time. It's that election season. It's coming up
Yes, sir.
quickly, quickly. We both hail from the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. We're currently serving as our Grand Master is Most Worshipful Darren M. Morton. And so before we introduce our guests for this show, we do have a quick disclaimer.
The purposes of the information in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions are our own. They do not reflect the views and opinions of our lodge or Grand Lodge. If you have any particular questions, please consult the proper office in your prospective jurisdiction.
Absolutely, absolutely. We also appreciate the support and the likes, the follows, and so please like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share the information with as many people as possible who you think will receive value from the information that we receive. And also, Mark always likes to remind us that if you want to email us, you can email us at masterfulconversations@gmail.com. Don't spam us, but you can email us if you have questions or if you have ideas and thoughts. So we do appreciate the engagement on the YouTube channel. So
We
without
will listen. We also take if you have any guest ideas, anybody you want from a guest, you can hit the emails. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you are a worshipful master or a past master, feel free to hit us up. We'd love to talk about how we can get you on the show to hear your story and what you think about leadership, most importantly. So with that, do we have any other announcements before we jump in?
No.
All right. So junior Warrens and senior Warrens, listen up here, and this is almost that time. It might be your
Yes,
time
sir.
coming up soon. So listen up to the knowledge that Past Master Hudson's going to have to drop on you today. It might help you out for the next coming year for sure. So with that, I do have the pleasure of introducing our guest for this evening, Past Master John Hudson of African 459 Lodge number 63 out of Brooklyn, New York, out of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. Past Master Hudson served as worshipful master 4 times. He served in 1999, 1998, 1999, 2000, and then again 16 years later in 2016. So we'll talk about what was going on and how things may have shifted in his leadership throughout that time period. He's also the past president for the second Masonic district of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. But also he has a lifelong passion, or at least the last 30 years passion, of being a director and also the past state director for the Knights of Pythagoras Youth Mentoring Program, which is sponsored by Prince Hall Masons of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. And so welcome, Past Master Hudson, to the show. We appreciate having you here.
Oh, thank you both for the invitation. I'm glad to be present.
Absolutely a pleasure.
Oh, I don't know. You mentioned that he also has the honor of being a third, receiving a third last degree in St. Scottish right Freemasonry. He's my classmate.
Hey, man.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that one. We always
no
make that note.
Yeah, and I just want to say a quick note also about his lodge number for those that don't know, of course. Michael Morrison logged on. Mike, log off. You'll get the recording later. Mike, log off, Mike. You'll get the recording later, Mike. Thank you. Not the first time. You know, it ain't. It happened with Stanley Brooks. Remember?
Oh, yeah, we did have
exactly. But it's all good. It's all good. I just wanted to make the note about, like I said, his large number, particularly if those that don't know, African 459 was the original lodge of Prince Hall out of Boston, Massachusetts. So African Lodge in Brooklyn decided to name their lodge after that lodge, and they're the 63rd lodge under the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. So that's the connections, just to clear that up, and also to give the history lessons to those that may not know.
Definitely appreciate that as always. Always keeping us honest, to make sure we understand we're on the level, even kill. And we'll talk about KOP, Knights of Pythagoras, too, for those who may be listening that aren't part of the craft as well. And so definitely want to get into that. But before we get into that, we want to hear your story, Past Master Hudson. Give us a little backstory. I know you shared with us your bio, but please share for our listeners your backstory. When were you raised into the craft? And then talk a little bit about your journey to the East.
Okay. First of all, let me just say thank you again for the invitation. Also acknowledge my worship master, William E. Boyd of African 459 Lodge number 63. My journey into the craft was exciting to say the least. And my cousin, who happened to be a Prince Hall Mason, gave me an application and brought me in, over 30 years ago. And he was a brother who, as a youngster, I used to admire. And he carried himself with such distinction that you and everybody else around you knew that there was just something different about him. And so he's always carried himself in a very upright manner. And so I'd approached him and asked him about joining the lodge, and he made me wait. He made me wait, and he knew that my dad was a Mason from the other side. He was a member of Light Lodge number 25 out of Harlem Grand Lodge in Brooklyn. And when I told him I was thinking about joining, he said, it would be beautiful for a father and son, to be in the lodge together. He said, but go with your cousin, Prince Hall. And so that's what I did, and my cousin, he petitioned me and, took it in, called me up and told me, hey, somebody be out to investigate you, which they did. And, I went through that process. And it was a beautiful experience, as a young man, to have elders come to your home and sit down with you, and really just see how you living. And they thought it not robbery to take a favorable opinion back to the brothers, and from there, I became a member of African 459 Lodge number 63. And again, it was something that I longed for, being my mother's only child, and being a male, to be around men of like-minded positions, it allowed me to grow as a man, if you understand what I'm saying. Because I had African Lodge had some really, really great brothers in that lodge, older brothers, man, that love to impart knowledge back to the younger brothers, And so after again I got entered, passed, and raised in October. Well, I got entered in April, passed in June, and in October I became a Master Mason. And the first thing they did, man, was put me on the line, as a steward. Which again, I didn't know anything about it. But I had good brothers that would say, hey, man, look, your job is going to be, X, Y, and Z, and you're going to assist with the setups. And, they gave me a task to do. And, I tried to perform each task they gave me with distinction and class and, and decorum, because I knew that they were watching. I was new, coming in from the, outer world, so to speak, So I was a rough ass to say the least, But African Lodge itself, man, had the brothers that would smooth you out, and that's what they did for me, And again, like I said, I worked all the chairs with the exception of the senior, junior, master ceremonies, and went to the South in '97, and no, I went to the South in '96.
Mm-hmm.
'97, I went to the West, and I went to the East in '98. So it was a beautiful, process. I tried to do each station. You know, the junior warden station to me was the most beautiful station for me. I don't know about a lot of other brothers because nowadays you got brothers that don't want to do the South. They want to skip over it because they think it's just about collation, and it's more than that. It's more than that. After the lodge is closed, the JW isn't really in charge. You know what I mean? That was my teachings anyway. To be ever ready for that position. So, um, and then again, being involved with trying to have a connection, with all the brothers. And nothing I did was ever motivated by going to the next station. It was all done out of love, because that was the teaching that was given to me, that Masonry was about the love for one another. And I can say that that is what I received from all the elders that was in my lodge, back then, back then. And then, I had the blessings of being elected to the senior warden station, and the same thing, there. There was duties that was given to me, because what we do in what we did in African Lodge is when you become the senior warden, you become the president of your club. So it's a learning process to prepare you for presiding, over your lodge in the future and things like that. There, so every station in African Lodge, when it came down to elected station, was leading, preparing you for the East, so to speak. And so in '98, when I became master of the lodge, um, it was not uh, taken lightly because of the road to get there. I believed in everything that I was doing. Sometimes I know that it caused confusion in the craft because I can be an Ephraimite, man. I can be real stubborn and rebellious. You understand what I'm saying? And a lot of that is probably what was causing a lot of my what I deem to be what they deem to be problems. I thought it was teachable moments. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it
Yeah,
was
it couldn't have been that nuts because you were in there 3 years in a row, so it couldn't have been that bad.
yeah, man, yeah, well, I was a problem child, so I like problems. But no, they were really great with sit me down and said, hey, Worsh, try it this way. I know what you want to do and be passionate about doing, but trying it this way. And so even now as a pillow, I learned more how to uh, wait to be asked as opposed to trying to be forceful, And then sometimes when I do, give it to a brother, it may seem kind of rough. But Brooklyn born, man, sometimes if it ain't rough, it ain't right. But again, that was just my journey to the east, so to speak. And as I said before, I had good brothers uh, that was very supportive, of my year as master, the first year,
Mm.
Um,
and
bef- before you go on, man, let me just
mhm.
say a couple of things. First of all, you gave homework that we does happens every once in a while with that Ephraimite thing. So and whoever don't know what an Ephraimite is, go look that up, and then that's your homework for the night. Second thing is you made a point about the junior warden being in charge whenever, the lodge is closed. People say that a lot, and I'll word it a different way, some which I'm pretty sure you will agree, because of course the worship master is never not in charge.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
he's definitely meant to look over the lodge, especially, to make sure that everybody's well-being is good when the lodge is
Absolutely.
closed. So
Yes,
that
sir.
we'll say that when it comes to
Yes,
the junior
yes,
warden
yes,
being in charge.
yes. Well, that's why I love you, Mark.
Yeah,
You know how to clean it up for me.
yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. For those that are listening,
Hmm.
no, I
I
did
don't want
not
no junior
mean that the
warden,
junior warden were in
yeah,
charge
running up to the
of,
worship master. I'm in charge now.
yeah. I don't want
Do
that.
that. No.
Then they'll find out what the gavel is really
We
for, right?
about exactly.
Oh
We're not
my.
condoning
Yes, sir.
violence, anyone, just for the
No,
record. We're not
sir.
condoning
No,
violence.
sir. No, sir. We are definitely not doing that.
Mm,
Yeah,
definitely.
Oh man. No,
yeah,
I
but
appreciate it.
yeah,
Hmm.
but then like I said, the first year, one of the things that I wanted to do is like sitting on the back. You notice certain things, and one of the things that I wanted to do was I realized that there were a lot of elders in our lodge who had not been honored because some, it was tradition that um, past masters, when they had events, they would honor a past master, and not that I had a problem with that. My problem was simply that uh, watching some of these other brothers who had already, invested in the lodge, man. Some of them invested over 20 and 30 years. So I wanted to honor them as well, and I think that might have caused a little disruption because
Mm.
it was breaking out of the norm. But
Mm.
even to this day, man, I'm the kind of brother that believes in giving brothers their roses while they could smell them. So I took time to, honor, a few, brothers that were not past masters, and stuff like that. And the second year, pretty much, the same thing. I had great, well, let me not say African Lodge had great wardens in a sense that I was blessed to serve with two brothers whom my cousin, I call him my royal cousin, but
Mhm.
who my cousin had also sponsored. So at one point in
Mm.
African Lodge from 98 to uh, 99, uh, my cousin had three of his brothers he sponsored on the line, which was a good thing because there was continuity in terms of the fact that we knew each other, and through him we learned to love and respect each other. And so our teachings was always what as the master, so should your junior and senior warden. So there was never a time that we came to a meeting or whereby, which I've seen, the South or the West would get up and say to the master, I don't understand what you mean. And you just made the motion. But the beauty of it is that, when you have continuity between the three principal officers, your years is a beautiful thing. It moves smoothly because, you guys are in sync, and like I said, that's what your program is about, which is leadership. And,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that uh, I was always try to be about anyway was communication, integrity, and good management of your resources. Those three things allow me to, I believe, do a good job presiding over the lodge. When I was master of the lodge, because integrity is everything. A lot of brothers don't feel that way, but you want to trust your leader, and a leader, when he appoints somebody, should be able to trust that person that they appointed. And so, that is what I believe leadership is. You want to follow somebody that is going to lead, but also he's humble enough to come back and say, "Hey, bro, I messed up or I made a mistake." And I was never one of those brothers that was afraid to say, I didn't do this right or do that, didn't do that right. I didn't mind telling the brother, hey man, I made a mistake with this or that,
Hmm.
because we're all human. We're all human, and that was the basics really of me wanting to lead. To have that kind of relationship and let it trickle down. Let it trickle
Yeah.
down. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I appreciate that, Pass. And I'm curious now too to think about you've been involved with KOP for so many years. Um, how did the KOP, so we have the honoring of the elders and honoring of the folks who were past, um, who came before us or that were seniors in the lodge. They may not have been past masters, but they were seniors in the lodge that dedicated a lot of time. So we're honoring that legacy. And then also at the same time, I'm imagining that you were still active with the KOP even while you were in the East. So I'm curious about how the KOP fed into your program for those 3 years too.
Mhm.
So you got both ends of the spectrum you're sort of managing, and
Yeah.
then you got the brothers in the middle there. But how did
Hmm.
KOP play a role during your
Well,
administration?
the beauty of the KOP, past Master Lonnie Bright, in 1995, appointed me the director of African Lodges Council. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do was bridge that gap. Because remember now, we talk about being master builders. You start from the ground, and the youth, believe it or not, for some people don't realize that that's our foundation. And if we work the KOP properly, now this is what I gathered out of it by watching. We don't have to worry about soliciting brothers because we're building them. You imagine my blessing was to have a young man that I've mentored through the KOP program and become a master mason. And if you do that, you are funneling your lodge with good boys to men, and so you don't have to worry about going out to solicit or anything else. So when before I became master, that's what I was doing, trying to get the young boys involved. So if the lodge had a feeding program, the young men would participate in that. They're learning charity. They're learning what it is to give back, to the community. African Lodge was good at. We had under Past Master Bright, we had books come alive, a reading uh, program and stuff like that, and the kids would participate in that as well too. So it's basically, teaching them what it is that we do, and so that was the bridge right there. And then also I realized that as Masons we like to travel, and so to take young boys, some of them never been out of Brooklyn, to take them to visit different councils in different states, they then get another understanding of what it is that we do as men and masons as well. So that was is what I used to gel, the two generations, together, and it wasn't always um, successful. There was a lot of rough patches, and so with that, being said, I'm a kind of brothers. I never give up. I'm a firm believer of that cradle to the grave kind of thing. You always want to give back,
Mhm.
to the youth and follow them throughout an honorable life. And so with the KOP with me from '92, into me working the line and working them into, the workings of a lodge, has given me an opportunity to help guide and mentor young men of color. And yeah, that was a beautiful thing. That's what kept me coming. My advice to a lot of brothers is simple: find what you love about masonry and hold on to that. Because if you get caught up in the politics, or you get caught up in what brothers are doing, you become disgruntled, and it's easy for you to fall by the wayside. But if you find what you love about the craft and continue to do that, you'll be all right. Because the politics, the uh, positions, none of that stuff would matter to you. And that's what the KOP did for me. You know, it allowed me to remove myself from all of that stuff and focus in what was pure. You know, what was pure. And that's what I again, brothers, if it wasn't for my health, you would still be, if the Grandmaster would allow me, you still be talking to the state director, you know, as opposed to past state director, you know. But sometimes, you know, the creator would figure out a way to slow you down, you know. And that's what I take it as. But thank you, Past Master Wagstaff, for even asking that, because some brothers think that that's separate, but it's not. You know, it's not. One of the beautiful things that I have come to see was when Past Master Alexander involved his children in it. At one point, him and his son was the marshals at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and that, to me, that was a beautiful sight, man. And I love to see the fact that, again, he took time to invest his sons in that program, and one served as Master Knight and even Grand Junior Knight. So that's the beauty of the program that I love so much, man, to see that kind of movement, you know, within the, you know, the body of Prince Hall Masons, you know. Yes, sir.
And I know you talked about the Knights becoming Master Masons. I only know one on top, and that's Brother Troy.
Yes, yes,
who
yes.
became a member of African 459 after going through the KOP program. So shout out to Troy.
Yes, yes.
Also, you mentioned about your royal cousin. Is that the same cousin that's in DC right now? That I know you call him your royal cousin.
No.
Okay. All right.
Interesting thing.
All right.
I call him royal cousin too, but my royal cousin name was his brother Gary Wright. And Gary Wright been in African Lodge for well over like 40 something years. But my royal cousin DC, we're not blood related, believe it or not.
Okay.
You know, but we love each other mightily, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, we intervisit with each other, and he bring his youth to me, I bring my youth to him, and you know, we just fellowship, you know.
Mention his name, because I don't know if on top.
Yeah, that's Arnold Hudson.
Arnold Hudson, there you go.
Ionic Lodge number 17 out of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge.
Ionic.
Yes, a jurisdiction of DC. Yeah. That's
also, he was the state. I don't know if he still is, but the state director of KOP also.
Yeah, he too, you know, took a leave from the position of state director. You know, so yeah, man, that's the beauty of it, you know, because you meet brothers from all over, and then to meet a brother that you and him are doing the same thing, you know, just gave us an instant connection, you know. And even to this day, most people think that we're biologically, you know, connected, you know, but you know, listen, we are, you know, like I said, we share the Prince Hall bloodline.
There it is.
Yes.
Now, you did mention a lot of stuff about leadership in general, your view of leadership, but we have a question exactly is what do you see as effective leadership?
Effective leadership to me, again, is leading from the front. You know, you can't ask brothers to do things that you wouldn't do yourself. And sometimes we have a lot of brothers that think that once they become master, they would appoint somebody to do this and do that and do that, and not get involved with it. You know, but you have to have hands on, and they have to see that you want to leave. You got to remember, it's still your program, you know. And so when you lead that program, you must lead from the head, you know. And that's what leadership is to me. not being able to just tell somebody to go do something, but being willing to do it. I had no problems if we have an affair, roll up my sleeves and help set up and participate or whatever. I couldn't see coming in and seeing something not done and then start hollering about what's not done. I would go right in and then just get to work and set things up and make things work. But that's just who I am. And some brothers, as soon as they become master, they become mini dictators, and that's not effective leadership. That turns people off. So you have to be able to lead from the front, not the back. Yeah.
I got a
No,
sort of
I
a
was just
follow.
gonna say I just appreciate the antonym for effective leadership is being a mini dictator.
See, Mark always get me in trouble, man.
Oh my gosh. So the opposite is
Yes.
yes. I am curious though about the balance that you strike between, so part of leadership is like holding men accountable in the craft, or holding other people or people who follow accountable, who follow you accountable, and empowering the people who you follow or people who may be supporting your cause. How did you strike a balance between rolling your sleeves up, getting your hands dirty, doing the work, and also holding the people whose job it is to do the work, to do the actually do the work? So how did you strike that balance, and then how did you
Well,
manage that
again,
balance?
my hope was always if they seen me working, that they would start working as well too. So even if you were appointed to do something, you didn't do it. I was always taught from the very beginning of the craft, you praise in public and you chastise in private. So there would never be a time that I would say, hey, you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that in public. It would always be, let's get the job done. And after it gets done, then later on in private, have that conversation. And then I never didn't have a problem with never using that particular brother again if he didn't understand that what his assignment was. And sometimes, we say in the craft, appointed officers can be appointed and disappointed. You know what I mean? And so that is how, I always flowed. And most brothers didn't have a problem with it because, most of the time, those brothers that really don't want to work is not going to work. So they ain't going to have a problem if you remove them from something. And then you have to be cautious because, some brothers will accept positions if there's members that are in the lodge that I don't want to use the word powerful, but in a certain position. And so in your presence, say for example, yourselves are there and there's a young brother there and he knows the kind of personality that past Master Wagstaff and past Master Mark Alexander have. He'll accept the job, not fully wanting to, but he know it would make you happy. And that's what brothers have to understand. Sometimes you have to be able to be like a social worker, really, when you're dealing with men. So you have to be able to distinguish who would do and who would say what. So, to answer your questions, I would always just get involved in that person that didn't do what they were supposed to do. You or the other brothers really won't know that he didn't do what he was supposed to do because I wouldn't reprimand him in public. Would always
But you would
be,
let them know afterwards.
oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, and then they may go tell everybody else that I said X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the way I've always dealt with things.
And that's a key point though, like not being afraid of having those conversations in private, and going towards the difficult conversations. One, that makes you a better communicator, if you have the more practice you have in those sort of things, but then also it's some you can clear the air or in the room in terms of like there's no ambiguity or confusion about where you stand. So if you hold back and you sort of hold it in, it's hard for the people who are coming up behind you or who are in your sort of your circle or in your cabinet to really understand where your head is. And so
Right.
it's going to be like leadership isn't easy. And in
No,
order
it
to
is
hold people
not.
accountable, you got to have
Yeah.
tough conversations
Hmm.
about facts. Like it's not emotional. We're not talking about how I feel. This is what I saw, and this is what I heard, and this is what I observed. And
Hmm.
so this is not either is acceptable or not acceptable based on expectations. And that's another part. You talked about communication and integrity. So
Hmm.
setting expectations and then communicating them properly and then following up on what you say you're going to do. I'm
Right.
curious now about the number of brothers that were in your lodge when you were master, and then also um, how you were able to manage the KOP while being worshipful master. So did brothers step in? Because I know that for some lodges that want to do KOP, they don't have the brothers who have the time or the interest to do the work of the KOP. Um, and I'm thinking, Past Master Hudson, you just rolled your sleeves up and said, "I'm just going to do it by myself." I'm feeling that might have been the case, but I want to hear from you about like what was your experience with the KOP? Like how many brothers were in your lodge on the rolls
Hmm.
roughly, and then how did they step up, or how was the participation in KOP?
Yeah, well, we normally we carry approximately 60 brothers on roll, but you got to remember the lodge has been in existence over 100 something years, and so they're pretty much an older lodge. So I didn't expect a lot of the elders to really get out there and get involved. But again, you just answered it. It was something that I loved
Mm,
and were willing to do the work. If that meant sometimes just me being there, case in point, I can remember living in Long Island, right, and driving into Brooklyn, picking up boys from the Coney Island area. No, sorry, stopping in Queens, picking up boys from Queens, going into Coney Island, from Coney Island going into Crown Heights, then Bedford Stuyvesant, and then to the Temple, and to get them back home after the meeting, reverse. And that was the love of the service of giving back to young boy. You know what I mean? And so it didn't matter, to me, whether or not brothers participated or not. I
mm,
knew that the program was worthy and worth it. And so, I did what needed to be done. And then I had a lot of good brothers, um, that came aboard, to assist me in that matter. Past Master Michael Morris, um, a brother Raul Dueño. He was a brother who, was into martial arts. So he began what we call a hit skill program to try to give back to, the young men with the martial arts and things of that nature. So, there was a lot of brothers that would participate in helping uh, shape it and get it together. But again, I was always put my mind to saying that from the East, the same way. If you want something done, sometimes you have to do it yourself,
mm.
and I was prepared to do that. So even if I had put somebody in place to be the chairman of the KOP program, I was master, I was still going to come by and participate and pick those boys up and help them get there. Because a lot of times we forget that uh, these young men go through obstacles, just to get to school. And so you want them to get to your temple safely, which means you have to invest in doing that. So yeah, you're right. Most of the time I just did it because again, I loved it, you know. And my expectations of the KOP, I had to stop expecting people to love it like I loved it. Just continue to do the work and hopefully while seeing me do the work, other brothers would get involved, with it, and the same thing applied with, statewide, you know, I would make visitations to, different jurisdictions to encourage them to do it. But like anything else, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, you know. And so, yeah,
100%.
to answer your question, Pass, that's, yeah, you were right. You're
Just
doing
to the I know that these people, of course, that may not be from the five boroughs and all over the place or whatever, but I know you was in Long Island. So Long Island is like the east, right? So the temple itself is really in east, it was in East New York, so that's East Brooklyn. So
Mhm.
he's going from Long Island, which is coming from the east direction, driving west, going to Queens, and then going all the way down to the south. I would be like southwest Brooklyn, somewhere, Coney Island,
Mhm.
right? Then coming back around into the Bed-Stuy and all that, they're going back to the east. So that's
Mhm.
a trek to
Yes,
picking up
sir.
these young men in order to participate in this program. Just to
Mhm.
explain it for a little bit, so people understand the sacrifice that you gave that second and fourth Saturday, because it was
Mhm.
twice a month, to in order to get
Yeah.
these gentlemen to participate.
Mhm.
And speaking of, I know with the children, and also I know that family is always extremely important to you with your mother and your wives and your children and your grandchildren and stuff like that. How did you
Mhm.
balance all of that while dealing with the KOP, Worship Master, and just the involvement in the craft itself?
Yeah. Well, truth be told, Pass, I didn't do a good job, man, with dividing my time equally.
Mm.
Um, and you know, I lost a jewel, one time before, and then remarried or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
what I went through was a learning experience because again, I was trying to be able to use that gauge.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I had a mother that was involved with community service, and unfortunately, in the early part of my Masonic journey, I didn't divide my time equally, so there was loss and sacrifice, but eventually, it took time and I was able to get it, to make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it took time to understand how to divide that time, equally.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it's the truth be told, it's hard to divide that time equally because either you're gonna do overtime on the job, or you're
Yeah,
gonna do
exactly.
overtime, doing what it is that you love doing. Yeah, so I definitely couldn't give anybody advice on that, bro.
Mm.
Well, listen, we learn from mistakes and we learn from, advice. So it's always good to hear the good and the bad. That's what this
Yes, sir.
particularly show is about. One
Yes,
of
sir.
my sayings I always say is, when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So that's what we
Hmm.
always got to remember, that when we
Yes,
decide on,
yes.
I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that, what are you
Right.
giving up? Because we can't be
Yes.
at two places at one time. We haven't discovered a way to break the laws of physics that way yet. So,
No, you're right. You are
and
absolutely
listen,
right.
Masons are not magicians or anything to
Don't
that
tell
nature.
us to come on, man.
That's a secret you won't get.
Not at this level. Maybe at the other level.
There
He's
ain't
talking
no
about the back,
levels. Don't be lying.
Yes, sir.
the back room.
It's
Where they
not in
had
the
the.
33rd degree. Ain't no degrees.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
No, that's funny you say that, Mo, Mark, because
True.
back in the day I used to be a sales manager in Medicare, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
I was talking to an older gentleman, and he was with his mom, and I think his mom was like 90 something, and he was like, I don't know, like his late 70s, or maybe she was almost 100, and he was like in his 80s or something like that. But
Wow.
anyways, I was like, man, you've been around, you've been alive this long. Can you give me something that I could take with me as a jewel? And he was like, he thought about it for a second. He was like, young man, it's like you could do just about anything that you want to do in this lifetime, but you can't do it all at the same time.
It
And so
is.
it was like, oh man, patience. Like, don't try to do it
Mhm.
all today, all this year, all this decade, even. Like,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you can do it all, God willing, you live to see it, but you can't do it
Right.
all at the same time. And
No,
so
sir.
that's something for masters and wardens to be thinking about in leadership, is like trying to cram
Mhm.
everything in that first year or that year
Mhm.
that you a
Mhm.
master, because you like, I got the power now. I can get it done
Yeah.
now. It's like, not
Yeah.
necessarily. And you might get
No,
Mhm.
sir.
disappointed and burnt out at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah, and
That's right.
it's good if you accomplish one good thing rather
Hmm.
than trying to do it all and get nothing accomplished.
Right.
So focus
Yeah,
on
that's
a
right.
few things, then get those things done and help move the
Mhm.
lodge forward. If you move the lodge forward in any way, it
Yeah.
was a success.
And that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's funny you said that because again we go back to the third year. In the third year I went back. One of what brothers didn't understand was my junior warden at the time. He went back into the church, so he left, and we got another junior warden on the line, which was past Master Pless. Awesome brother, awesome brother. So when the third time came, past Mr. Pless said, "Look, man, I'm not sitting again," you know. So I said, "Well, here's what we do. I would help you with the collation." You know, I had to do a little bartering there, you know. But the senior warden had you know, he had said to me, rest his soul, past Master Escalin, he said, "Hut," he said, "Man, I'm not ready," you know. And on the strength of, he said, "I like what we're doing. You know, I like the direction we're going in, so I'm not ready." And I said, "Well, you know, no problem. I don't have a problem, you know, sitting again, if that be the case." And you know, it worked out. There was, you know, some gripe about it, and you know, the brothers say, "Hey, man, look, you know, it's yours. Get what's yours. This, that, the third, you know." And it was fine with me because again, this was his request, and so I just worked it out by speaking to the junior warden and saying, "Look, man, I'll help you with the collation if you stay one more time, just to, you know, to continue what we were doing." And Pastor Eskelin, rest his soul, he called me, said, "Well, Brother Hudson, there were some brothers, you know, that told me, you know, to get what's mine, this, that, and the other." And, you know, again, here's where the stubbornness and rebelliousness has become, right? So I said, "Well, listen, brother, you know, you asked me to do it. And, you know, now, again, like you said, it's November. I said, here's what I do. I, I already put in my mind, I already spoke to the family or whatever to do this." You know, I said, "Well, look, I'm going to run. And, you know, if I win, I would renominate you to serve in that station, you know, as we planned, you know, and you, same thing for the junior." And so that's what happened. Ultimately, that's what happened. You know, again, I could have just yielded and stepped off. But again, I don't want to call it ego, but I did get caught up in, look, man, you asked me to do it. I made plans to do it. I'm going to do it, you know. And again, he was good with that because we had that understanding. Remember, we had a relationship because of who our sponsor was. So
Right.
us speaking truth to power was never a problem. Everybody else didn't know that that's what it was, you know. And so subsequently, everything, you know, went through. We did another year or whatever. And one of my strong pillows said to me at the end of the third term, he said, "Well, John, you know, your first 2 years was great." He said, "But your last year wasn't sugar honey iced tea." You
Oh
know,
man.
and
He
again,
said it to you.
you know, he said it to me,
You.
you know, and my response was simple: a master is only as good as his craft assembled. So if I ain't sugar
Oh.
honey iced tea,
Oof.
y'all ain't sugar honey iced tea.
No,
You know, because
no,
again, man, that was me back in the days, man. You know, like I said, you know,
man.
I came to subdue my passion, not get soft.
Yeah.
So
But then
that,
we fast forward 16 years later, and then you back in the seat. So
yeah,
I just got to hear
yeah,
about that quickly. Like,
yeah.
what is going
Well,
on there?
well, you know, without getting, you know, too personal, what happened is, um, you know, at the time I thought that integrity was always in order. And I thought that we started to lack integrity. And so that's why I chose to run back, you know, for integrity and stability. You know, I believe that that caused a division, you know, but again, I had to do it. You know, I had to do it because again, you know, being a man and a mason, you know, the first lesson we're taught is to be good and true, and so it being a divine attribute of everything, I needed to stand on truth. And that's just how I felt, you know. Did it serve the craft? Uh, I don't know, but we got back to the basics for a while, So that was my reason for going back 2016, And again, bro, sorry,
Uh-oh.
brothers.
No problem.
Yeah, I get nervous talking about that. No, but to be quite honest, I think that's where I have flaws at, because of again expectations, and you know, I think that it's important that men of our caliber that say we belong to this organizations need to stand on that. We need to stand on truth, integrity, and again, all we have to do is look at what our teachings tell us to do, and if we follow those teachings and those principles, you know, it should make us better men. It should make us better men. So yeah, that's
Definitely.
in the short, that's what happened
Yeah.
with 2016.
Appreciate
Well, in
Yes,
2016, that was the year that you stepped off as district president, and I filled in, and I followed you as district president.
yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
as your position as district president, how did like the lessons you learned as master and things like that help you as district president? And how was
hmm
it, how did it change or it might have been a little bit different as district president, your leadership skills?
Oh yeah, it's definitely different as a district president because what happens is, which I learned, the first time, it went in well. You know that word I love to use about Ephraimites. You realize that you got them in your lodge, but now in the district, you got them all together. So trying to get, you know, a band of brothers to move, in one way is going to be hard because you're going to always have a few ruffians, man, to come in and try to cause confusion. But again, before I went, the brothers had already laid the foundation, and all I tried to do was maintain what was already laid and really not try to change anything. But again, it's always for me, it's always about being able to do it with integrity, And so that's what I tried to do. So I hope again, I don't know if I did a good job or not, but as I told a brother before, I didn't go back to please anybody. I went back because I thought what I had would be good for the district. You know what I mean? So like, for example, I always want to give away scholarships and stuff like that. So I try to lay some sort of foundation for us to do that. I think I don't want to say we were the first to do it, but I know when myself and Travis Everson served as president and vice president together, we wanted to make sure that we, started, a scholarship, for the district. I knew they had one in the district before that I don't know if Mark, if you remember past Master Stackhouse
I know the
from
name, but I never
yeah,
met him
well,
before.
his family had a scholarship that they were giving out, yearly as well too. So
Okay.
it wasn't anything to cause any confusion with that, but I just thought the district, should do that, and so that's what I tried to do. So yeah, there was nothing that I would try to implement as a master into a district because you have so many different, brothers with different personalities and mindsets and cliques and all that kind of stuff. It's just like joining any other houses. You got to remember, like I said, I may get in trouble for this, but that's what happens. When you join any of those houses, if you got knuckleheads in your house, your blue lodge, that all of them now
Yeah,
are
the
band
mixture of the
together.
knuckleheads.
Yeah, man. So you ain't gonna get much done, man, unless you are a good brother. And let me say this publicly. I want to congratulate, past Master Mark Alexander because he was a brother that was always trying to teach in these different houses that he went in. I'm just sorry that my health started to give, so I couldn't make them all. But it was good to see that the energy that you brought to the Royal Arch and consistory, stuff like that. So it's good to see both of you good brothers, man, doing good work with this podcast. And I just had to request, can I please get on? Because I love what you brothers were doing.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you for sure. And definitely
Yes, sir.
Mark is always keeping us on our toes with the education. So that's his superpower. That's one of his many superpowers. So we appreciate
Yes,
that,
sir.
brother.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're gonna we got maybe two more questions or so before we
Mhm.
wrap up for the evening and go on about
Okay.
our day. But one is I am curious about how you showed up as a past master after those 3 years, and then how you show up now as a past master. Because we
Mm.
talked about like integrity sort of slipping, and when we get out of that seat, sometimes we kind of go off and do our own thing in our life. We feel like, oh, I got some time back now, and I kind of
Mhm.
leave, and then things start happening behind when we leave. And so I'm curious if that happened when you left that first time or got out the
Mhm.
seat the first time. How did you show up as a past master then, and then how are you showing up as a past master now?
Mhm.
Elements and health aside, but how are you show up?
Mhm.
How do you show up as a past master now?
Well, that's a question that you may have to ask the brothers.
Well, how do you think you
you
show
know,
up as a past
but
master?
but I would say, yeah. To answer that question, one of the blessings, that I believe that I received coming in early, and if you don't mind me doing this, there was a brother
Yeah,
who
definitely.
Mm,
was
Nice.
he was the grand historian. His name was
Mhm.
uh, Alton Bennett Sr., and he was the grand historian for the most personal control Grand Lodge of New York. And so they used to meet at the Grand Lodge and have discussions and stuff like that. Well, he put together a piece called What After the Mastership. And so in reading that, that's what I was always doing, preparing for after the mastership.
mm,
And that's why I suggested, early on that you got to find what you love about the craft and hold on to it, because otherwise you'll fall by the wayside. Because what I did was each time that I did go in there, I tried to create something that I felt that if the master didn't want to continue it or the brothers wouldn't Westing, it would be something that I can do to
Mhm.
keep me coming.
hmm
Case in point, we do a thing now called a reef laying, whereby we honor our our first worshipful
Worshipful
master, and
master.
yearly we try to go to the cemetery and
mm,
lay a reef. And I wanted to do that because again, that was something that would keep me engaged, and that's what I try to do, and that's what I would do whether the lodge accepted or not, because you can't tell me as a brother I can't go and give honor to those who came before me. So that's one of the things that I try to do. That's why I say to the brothers, find what you love about masonry. So if you were the master of the lodge, try to implement something that after you leave the chair, you can still do. So you can still stay engaged with the brothers, still be invested, because ultimately our job is to support the master, of the lodge and to continue it doing. And that too is what I got out of reading that piece that I just showed your brothers
mm,
after the mastership, because it taught me to be involved and engaged when needed. You can't force. Listen. We passed. That's the key word there.
mm,
You can't force your will on the brothers to do something. Yes, you can be vocal about, passionate about what
Mhm.
it is that you believe we should be doing. But at the end of the day, I understand that whatever the worship master want and the brothers vote on is what I'm going to support, whether I'm in
mm.
agreements with it or not, because it benefits the lodge.
Definitely.
Amen. Amen.
First of all, me and Matt need that pamphlet in our life,
Uh,
HUD. So any way you can get that to
Absolutely.
me, and I'll forward it to
Is it on
Absolutely. Well,
Amazon or anything like that? I don't know. It looked like you
I,
can't get
I,
that.
I would definitely do that. No,
Yeah,
again, like I said, this was the brother
yeah.
who, when you would call him back in the days, if he didn't answer, his wife would answer,
Mhm.
and she would say, he's on the jazz. Well, on the jazz mean he's researching, you know,
Nice,
and
nice.
that was who. And another one that he put together was this one here, which was
Okay.
called the wardens, you know, and stuff like that. And so these two things, there's more. If I find more,
Pass them on along.
I'm going to share with you, because those are the two things that helped me. I believe helped me a lot with
Hmm.
those stations, places, and also again as a past master of this lodge, which I love so much. You know,
What's the
Definitely.
brother's name? One more time. Just what was the
his
brother's name that wrote those?
his name was, he's passed away then, but his name
Yeah.
was Alton J. Bennett Sr., and he was
Alton
the
J. Bennett.
grand historian of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York. You know, most of the brothers like Ludwig Hall, they can give you
Yeah.
more information about him, because you know they fellowship with him. You know,
Okay.
and you know, those are the kind of brothers, you know, that on occasion I was able to go here, go be
Mhm.
around, and
Mm.
you know, grab knowledge from, you know. And like I said, as a young brother, when I came into the second district, there was brothers like Luther McCoy and oh boy, Saint Cecile,
Mm.
Ray Ricketts,
Mm.
and then of course you had all the Carthaginian. They were all
Yeah, all the
lecturers.
Carthaginian.
Yeah, you know, Ludwig Hall and
Hmm.
Al Lewis and Right Worship Savage and
Savage. Hmm.
yeah, you know, and Gibson and Harry Austin. You know, I can go on and on about those brothers that made our district school exciting.
Mm.
You know, and so the masonry that I I feel I possessed was from that generation, you
Mm.
know, and that's why I try to keep going and keep going and keep going, because I've seen these brothers do it until health or until they passed away, you know, but they were always giving knowledge to the younger brothers, you know, and so yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to be,
Ooh.
you know.
I don't want this to fly over our heads, and maybe this might be common in other another districts or jurisdiction. But you said a district's college,
No, we have a district school.
a district
We have
school.
Mm-hmm,
we have a district school every third Saturday.
So
mm-hmm,
this is where
That
all the
ran by
lodges
the
in the
grand
district.
lecturer. Yes, ran by the grand lecturers. Unfortunately, it isn't brothers don't participate as they should. I mean, myself, I worked on Saturday, so I can only say I myself only attended one district school during the whole
mm-hmm,
time, but that's because I worked on Saturday.
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
but the
But
concept is pretty dope. I like that concept. I haven't
mm-hmm.
personally experienced that in 20 years of masonry, but
mhm.
I appreciate that concept. So just something to put out there as a seed for other
Yeah.
places.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Oh
Definitely. It'd
yeah.
be dope if y'all do that. And now thank you, Past Master Hudson, for mentioning those names. And one name that you mentioned about the Reef Lane, you ain't say our good brother's name, and I'm definitely going to bring that because he was the first worship master of African Lodge was Francis F. Giles,
Yeah,
and
junior.
junior. He's
Mm-hmm.
also was the most worshipful past grand master of our Grand Lodge. And he's also was the first thrice potent master of Long Island Lodge of Perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that they
And
particularly have that connection to me
and
being a consistory man.
yeah, yeah.
And now
And
when I
and
seen that on the chart, Hudson was the first
yeah,
person I took the church
yeah,
into.
that's why I love him, because the first thing he did was shout it over to me. He said, "Man, look, you know, absolutely, absolutely, man. That's why I
mm.
love him. You're always sending me jewels, man. You know, and I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that.
So
I know
in
I'll never be, you know, my lodge historian, you know,
Mhm.
but I like to pass it on to other brothers so that
mm,
eventually, you know, they can compile everything and you know, and pass it on, you know, because
I mean, you don't need a title officially, but you are
mhm,
unofficially
mhm.
by holding
Yeah.
on to those things and doing the things that you did. I mean, here's the thing, because he ain't mentioned, may not thinking about it right now.
Yeah,
Hudson
yeah,
did
yeah.
something sort of what we're doing right now because he
mm,
took his older past masters and members of the lodge and he recorded them. And he got their
Mhm.
stories out. So
Yeah,
he was like
yeah.
the originator of this podcast.
Didn't even know it.
You know?
Look at
I
that.
mean-
See, Mark, you always got something for us, man. Always got a reminder for us.
Oh man, well, like I said, man, I appreciate you, brothers, man, and I thank you for allowing me to be a part of, allow me to be a part of because
Man, we appreciate you too, brother, for all you do. Definitely all you do.
I've been following y'all and I looked at them numbers growing up. I said, well, let me figure out a way to beg to get on. Ain't no shame in my game, man.
No, we definitely are happy to have that story and capture the gems that you've dropped on us. I do have one last question I just got to ask it is health permitting. We know that you're going through what you're going through right now and your challenges right now. That being said, if there was an opportunity for you to go back into the East for African 459 Lodge number 63 in the year 2025, what's one thing that you would focus on as a leader of that lodge in this day and age, knowing what you know about the craft?
In this day and age, I would focus on promoting harmony, because I think that's where, not just in my lodge, but the district itself, we're lacking. We have to get back to being able to say publicly that this is how Masons love one another, and unfortunately, you don't see that anymore. Well, let me not say that. Let me say I don't see it anymore, and maybe it could be the places that I'm going, but I would like to see that brought back together. Case in point, I think most of the time I receive most of the love that I receive when I visit the 7th district or the 4th district or the various different districts. Like I said, I love Rochester and Buffalo. Quick shout out. I like all those. The district deputy grand masters were very helpful. Wagstaff, your good brothers from your lodge participated. Brother Tracy Williams, and man, it's an error of the mind and not of the heart. But I mean, his name is going to come to me, man.
Was it James Waters?
Waters. These were brothers that were very supportive, and help try to maintain, the program and stuff like that, and in the 7th district, the same thing, man. Petty and Pastor Jenkins and Oswald and all those good brothers, man. If I didn't name you, it's an error of the mind, not of the heart. So call, text me, or blast me out later on. Later on.
They'll do it privately, not publicly, though. So don't worry about
right.
it.
But that's my point. I would try to focus back on the harmony of bringing brothers back together and learn how to truly love one another. Truly love one another. And that's again 2025. I'm hoping that there's enough brothers back in the craft that love the craft enough to continue that I don't ever have to go back.
Listen,
but thanks for the question.
I told Tweet Senior Warren yesterday he's ready to go. So
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Mark, Hudson ain't gonna be Hudson if he don't tell you. We got board past senior awards, and then we got past masters.
I know your lodge very well.
Hey, that's just me being silly, man.
Yeah,
I'm around you brothers, and I love y'all, man.
If you know, you know. Basically, if you know, you know. Just one of those things. Yes.
Well, past Master Hudson, it's definitely been a pleasure for you taking the time and being a guest on our show. You have left us with things to think about. You gave us some homework again. Whoever's lesson, Ephraimites, look that up. That's your homework. See what you
How you spell that? How you spell
from that. Google it. Tell it to Siri. he'll get it out. Look that up, and I'm pretty sure you'll get a good lesson from that. Also, you did mention something about just about leadership and being good to your members. And it's something I had just put into the chat before you go into that. This is a Bible verse from Hebrews that I actually want to mention real quick. Let me find it. Hopefully it ain't too far away. Because I know I put it in a couple of places. And let me see if I can find it right now. Here it is. All right. Have confidence in your leaders. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Having confidence in your leaders. Have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority because they keep watch over you as those that must give an account. Do this so that their work will be a joy and not a burden, for that would be of no benefit to you. That's Hebrews 13:17. I just ran across that the other day and I figured it,
Yes,
I know you mentioned it is good line with the podcast. But again, thank you, HUD, for everything that you were giving us. Jewels such as 3 principal offices should be on one accord. Communication, integrity, and the management of resources is very important as a worshipful master. Finding out, and this is just leadership and in general about keeping people in the craft, finding out what you love about Freemasonry and hold on to that. And that'll keep you here and keep you something focused on while you on your journey up and while you pass the in the East. In general, and if you never go to the East, it'll keep you here and give you something to do within the order. Leading from the front is extremely important. Ask people to do things that you would do yourself and not things that you wouldn't. And always, as always, praise in public and criticize in private. That's very important. Thank you, Past Master Hudson, for those jewels.
Yeah, yeah. If I could say one thing before we close, on behalf of the most venerable Paul Robeson, Grand Council of the State of New York, for those brothers who are listening, the KOP needs your help and needs your support. In 2025, we're trying to take these young boys down to the jurisdiction of North Carolina, and we want to be able to get as many young men knighted as possible. And please remember, if Masonry make good men better, then the KOP make young boys good men. Let's put that together, brothers, and support the Knights of Pythagoras and Right Worshipful Jermaine Milligan, the new state director of the Order of Knights of Pythagoras of the state of New York. And shout out to Past Master Bay, Mujahid Bay, Mark, and all you brothers who supported me as not president, but as the past state director of the Knights of Pythagoras. It was you brothers' love, man, that kept me going. Thank you so much, brother. Past Mr. Wagstaff, thank you, man. I'm hoping to come when I get myself together, come and visit your lodge because that was always home to me as well. And
We're
give
here
my
for
love
you
to the
when you're
brothers.
ready.
Yes, sir.
Much love, much respect, much love. Yeah, thank you, Past Master Hudson, for all you do for not just our craft, but also for the young men in particular. It's certainly a testament to just your love just for life for Black men, Black and brown men. And the legacy that you have left is certainly one that's something that's been a joy to see grow throughout the many years, at least my 20 years in Masonry, seeing you've been active in KOP since day one, since I joined the craft. And so you've been a constant pillar and still to this day, even though you're not the state director at this moment, you emeritus state director in that regard, and is still advocating for the program and making sure that brothers know that it's something we need to be taken serious. How can men get more information about KOP for anybody that's listening that may be in the craft or not in the craft? Just sort of Google search, or is there a place that you want them to go to get more information?
Yeah, you can go to the KOP of New York page, and there's something under there that can give you applications and stuff like that. But you can always email me at jfhudsonkop at gmail.com, and I'll send you whatever you need until the new administration get the things they need together. Because as they say, I ain't never really gone.
No,
You
as
know.
we don't want you to go nowhere anywhere anyways.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
jfhudsonkop at gmail.com.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Anytime. Anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you, Past Master Hudson. So
Thank you, brothers.
there you have it. We have another episode of the Masterful Conversations in the books here. We appreciate you again, Pastor Master Hudson, for the jewels, for the knowledge. For those who are listening right now, whether you are in the craft or not in the craft, we hope that what you heard today will help you grow in your leadership journey, either personally or professionally. Please continue to like, subscribe to the channel, share this episode with as many people as possible who you think will receive value from what you heard during this episode. We like to say on the Masterful Conversations podcast that the world needs leaders, and leadership starts by being able to lead yourself. It's almost impossible for you to lead other people if you cannot lead yourself. So please take these jewels to help you become a better leader personally. And until the next time, God bless.
God bless.